How do you go to stage two? So like the first step, obviously being establish who they are, look at what they're doing to add value to your customer, whether it's to increase stickiness, use your product more, add value to their overall tech stack and their experience. How do you then bring them close enough to you to build the revenue and the integration and the more deep partnerships that you are obviously going to strive for? I would expect at least. So I'm curious, how you think about sort of step two in that process.
The way I think about that is actually very close to how I think about, and perhaps this is a wider topic, but it was core to us because we were the tiny unknown bootstrap startup out of Europe wanting to partner with these big companies like Google, Microsoft, Zoom, Slack, etc. So you have sort of that big fish, little fish challenge that many startups face, especially if you're trying to build relationships and partnerships. So the two principles that help me there, and I think they sort of then expand to answer your question, is one is what does the end look like, working backwards from there, which is something that I touched on briefly, which is sort of your typical Amazon backwards process from writing a press release. But for us, is really thinking about, as I mentioned, with the partnership or the product integration, where are we headed as a company and as a product, and then working from there to introduce those points and touch points for partnerships and product integrations. And second principle is how do we fit in? And this is something that I learned over time, and it's been actually quite uncomfortable in some ways at the beginning to be so blunt at asking that question early on in a partnership process or in a relationship, because sometimes we can have the tendency to see a really cool logo, especially as a startup, and just really go after it and sort of force fit everything else and pretend that, Slack is really cool right now. Yeah, I want to be part of that marketplace, but not think about what is the consequence, where is it really leading? But more importantly, what is top of mind for Slack right now for the next 6 months, 1 year? And is that in alignment with where we are going? And I found that when I was sort of a bit more outspoken and asked that question early on, because it is really about a relationship, the partnership, and was more transparent. And if the partner was transparent as well, that's what made or break those partnerships and ultimately allowed us to be a bit more selective, because we're like, well, there's a really clear fit right now because they're going to be building something in the next 6 months that we can be part of. Or on the other hand, this is not a priority for them for the next 2 years. So let's spend our limited resources somewhere else.
Yeah, that's the idea of partner market fit. I couldn't agree more. And I'm sort of thinking back at this point to early thoughts I had, early conversations I had, in my career around how to define partnership success and being very intentional around, we all love to say better together stories, but what does that actually mean? Like, what the shit are we talking about? We love to say these things sometimes, I think, in particular as professionals in early stage companies, and we spin words and we use, I said ninja earlier and guru about you, which I think you laughed at. But the point is, like, when we think about very specifically, where are they at in their evolution, their growth, their go-to-market, and where and how do we fit in, if we fit in, that's a very, to your point, vulnerable question to ask. But I think what it gets to is the root of why someone should invest more. And if you know what your partner is actually looking for, it's that age-old thing around like Inception, right? That movie that was very popular in the States, Leo DiCaprio and whatnot. But the idea that you can plant an idea in someone's head and allow it to, over time, grow and develop into their own concept, I think it's very true in partnerships, which is that if we know where we fit in today, we can stay much closer to the problem or the solution, for that matter, over the next weeks, months, years, and inevitably get ahead of that moving forward so that we are where they want to be. And now we can bring them with us in that partnership and provide even more value. It's smart.
I'm smiling because as a big Inception fan, I love the reference.
Yeah, I love
probably adapt it. But you're right. Like, and I think there's, I'm quite a fan of the definition of Bill Gates around what a true platform is. I think it goes as sort of platform is when economic value of everybody that uses it exceeds the value of the company that created it. And that's true, with a preamble that not every product is or company is a platform or should be a platform. But I think there's a sort of core learning there, especially as you mentioned, as we want to do all these like 1 + 1 = 10 type deals. How can we have that mindset where we're going to make the other party more successful as well?
That's great. So we've got a few more minutes here. I want to ask a targeted question here at this moment, I think, probably most specifically. And that's, if I'm listening to this and I've maybe not done this before, or I'm starting to do this now in terms of bringing together product partnerships and my own go-to-market, What are some of the pitfalls? Let's go negative for a few minutes here, not super long, but a few things that I should look out for, I should be aware of, things I should avoid in my early learnings to ensure that I'm not putting myself in a detriment or in a position of potential failure. Because again, you were at a startup, you were an early stage company. You saw, I'm sure, a lot of those things, those potholes to look out for, and you were successful. You brought it to Cisco, you were acquired. What are some of the things you learned either through your own mistakes, right? Because we're all human, and or observations you had that the listeners could take in and perhaps they themselves avoid in this journey?
Yeah, I think a big one, especially since we are interfacing with product, is distraction. Because again, these logos will inevitably look cool and sound cool to the rest of the company as well. Like it's a really great all hands material that we're now working with Flag or Zoom or whoever. And they can distract your product team. So I'll be very careful and sort of thinking through when to go all in. For us at Slido, in retrospect, one thing that was really helpful, and I tried to bring more of the thinking when I joined Cisco, was really thinking through these product integrations and the product interfaces as very sort of MVP hacky way. And for us, it was very, maybe this is a startup thing, an early stage thing, but it was very easy for us for the partner manager, for the partnership person to be very hands-on with the product. And sometimes the product manager and the partnership manager were one person, because again, resources. And that in retrospect is extremely healthy, because then, the partner manager doesn't need to have any technical skills or coding skills, but they can mock up something in Figma, show it to a few potential customers. They should be very customer facing and in front of the customers. Do user research around that, build up a type form, waitlist, landing page, something. Like, you almost want to do that outside of the rest of the business as usual in a company. And I know that potentially could be a threat in itself, and you don't want to sort of create these silos, but we've done that in a sort of healthy, manageable way of dedicating 3-4 people to like go try this out, especially if it's a product integration and it touches 2 products, if not more. And if it fails, it fails, and then won't distract us and won't distract the product roadmap or however you are planning. But if it does, then great, let's dedicate a team on that and let's invest and let's go all in.
I love that. That's the scientific method stuff I've talked about before, the idea of observe, make some sort of a decision on how you're going to act on it, take that action, document, learn, iterate, try again. And I think there's something really valuable. It's great learning to share. This has been a fantastic conversation. If folks want to connect with you, how do they reach out? How do they find the internet and get in touch?
Yeah, I'm on mostly active on LinkedIn and Twitter. Active is a big word. I haven't been really active. I've been enjoying my new dad life for the past 2 months, but cool. I'm back now and would love to connect with folks, especially if there's anything I can help with.
Brilliant. You heard it here first, folks. Go reach out, ask all of your questions to the guru himself. It's been an absolute pleasure having a conversation with you. I told you I'd use it again. Oh, no. For those of you listening, thank you as always. Please like, subscribe, comment, reach out with any feedback, questions you have. You know where to find me, certainly on all platforms, and then myself on LinkedIn as well. Again, Juraj, it's been an absolute pleasure having a chat with you today, my friend. Congrats on being a dad again, and we'll talk real soon.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.